In this video, we're going to learn how to use seamless transitions from AinTransitions extension like a pro. Before we begin the review of how to use transitions, we will review what packs are included in the AinTransitions extension. As we can see from the cover image of the extension, AinTransition includes more than 3,500 transition presets. For the convenience of orientation and all transitions, we divided it into 4 packs, focusing either on the principle of implementation or on the type of transitions. These are the 4 packs that we can see from the icons: core transitions, glitch transitions, alpha matte transitions, and shape transitions. 3 of them, the core, glitch, and shape transitions, work on the same principle, which we will cover in this video tutorial. Transitions from the alpha transitions pack work on a slightly different principle, since these transitions use the alpha channel and it requires a pre-composed step with the footage. We will cover this in a separate video tutorial. In this video tutorial, we'll look at how to use transitions based on the core transitions pack. So first, let's take a quick look at the general layout of the transitions packs interface. First thing to note are all the root categories available in the core transitions section. In addition to the category name, you can also see how many transitions are in each of these categories, as well as the total number of transitions in the entire section. When you toggle this switch to on, you can see all available subcategories in root categories. Now, let's hide everything by clicking this toggle switch to off. Next thing we want to do is open just one of these root categories, say this one. In this root category, we can see subcategories with a star icon before the name. If the icon is not filled, it means that this transition has not been added to any of the collections. Okay, click on the star icon and we see that a window has appeared under the category where we can choose which collections to add this transition to. Let's say this one and this one. A solid icon indicates that a transition has been added to the collection. Managing this is super simple. The first click adds to the collection, the second moves from the collection. Now, let's go deeper into detail. When you toggle this inner switch on, you can open all subcategories in this category. Here we see icons with the direction of transitions. Now we can review the available preview options. First one, you can see the transition preview by hovering on each variation icon. For convenience, in the preview area, you can see the name of the transition composition. Second one, you can view the preview of the transition at a higher level, that is, by dragging the mouse over the category name. This option will loop through all the previews from this subcategory. And the last one, of course, you can view the preview by hovering over the name of the root category. This option plays preview transitions in random order. Oh, it seems we forgot to look at one icon. This is an icon to show and hide the speed control for the transition. Click this icon. We see that there is an additional speed control where we can choose the necessary transition speed. Icons informatively show that the speed goes from slower to faster. So everything in the interface is quite simple and informative. Now we can consider all cases how to use the extension and add transitions. Case 1. How to add single transitions presets. In this case, there may be several scenarios for adding a transition. Let's look at everything in order. Subcase 1. No layer selected. Let's make our composition active. Then we return to the extension and choose the direction that suits us. Yes, this one. Click on this icon. A couple of seconds later, we see that a composition with the transition appeared in our composition. In this scenario, the transition is added at the location of the time indicator. Please keep this in mind and keep track of the location of the time indicator if no layers are selected. Subcase 2, single layer with footage selected. Let's make our composition active and then select the footage layer over which the transition should appear. Then we return to the extension and choose the direction that suits us. Click on this icon. A couple of seconds later, we see that a composition with a transition appeared in our composition. In this scenario, a transition is added above the selected layer and placed on the left border of the layer. Subcase 3. Multiple layers with footage selected. Let's make our composition active and then select the multiple footage layers over which the transition should appear. Then we return to the extension and choose the direction that suits us, like this one. Click on this icon. A couple of seconds later, we see that a composition with a transition appeared in our composition. In this scenario, a transition is added above all the selected layers and placed on the left edge of each selected layer. Case 2. How to add multiple transition presets. In this case, there may be several scenarios for adding a multiple transition. But first, let's have a quick overview on how to do multi-selection of transitions. The selection is carried out by holding down the Control key on Windows or the Command key on Mac and clicking on the category or specific transitions. So, a few examples. Now we can proceed to consider the scenarios. Subcase 1. No layer selected. Let's make our composition active. Then we return to the extension and make multi-selection of transitions. Now we need to click on the Apply Bulk Selection button. A couple of seconds later, we see that a composition with a transition appeared in our composition. In this scenario, the transition is added at the location of the time indicator. And as we see, a random transition from the selected transitions applied. Please keep this in mind and keep track of the location of the time indicator if no layers are selected. Subcase 2. Single layer with footage selected. Let's make our composition active and then select the footage layer over which the transition should appear. Then we return to the extension and again click the Apply Bulk Selection button. A couple of seconds later, we see that a composition with a transition appeared in our composition. In this scenario, a transition is added above the selected layer and placed on the left border of the layer. And as we see, a random transitions from the selected transitions applied. Subcase 3. Multiple layers with footage selected. Let's make our composition active and then select the multiple footage layers over which the transition should appear. Then we return to the extension and again click the Apply Bulk Selection button. A couple of seconds later, we see that a composition with a transition appeared in our composition. In this scenario, transitions are added above all selected layers and placed on the left edge of each selected layer. And as we see, random transitions from the selected transitions are applied. Case 3. How to replace transitions presets. Replacing transitions is quite simple. To do this, select the layers with transitions that you want to replace. Then we return to the extension and click on the transition icon that we need. Yes, that works fine. Similarly, you can place transitions with random ones if you use selected transitions. Changing the transition speed is pretty easy. To do this, you just need to change the in point or out point. Let's see it in action. Move the layer in point to the left. As we can see, the transition before the marker has become slower. Now move it closer to the marker and check it out. Yep, the transition is now faster. In the same way, you can control the second part of the transition by changing the out point. There is also a second way to do this through the extension. But first, let's take another transition which doesn't have any changes made to it. Let's say this one. Now, select the layer with our transition and go back to the extension. click on the time stretch menu and then click on the manual time stretch icon. Here we see that an input appeared that contains a value 100. This means that the transition has the original length, or in other words, 100%. If we want to make the transition faster, then we must enter a value less than 100. If you want to make the transition slower, you must enter a value greater than 100. Let's enter a value of 50 and check it in action. Yes, we can see that the transition has become shorter. Play it and make sure it really is. Yep, it's really faster. We reviewed all scenarios for using transitions with one principle of operation, such as the core, shape, and glitch transitions. In transitions from the indicated packs, the transition point from one footage to another is carried out in place with the marker AinTR. In the next video tutorial, we will look at using the transitions with an alpha channel, which are in the alpha transitions pack. So I hope you found this video useful, and remember to watch the rest of the videos in this series so you can use this pack with confidence. So this video tutorial for this section is over. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe to our channel for all the latest updates on new products and offers.